Many thanks for joining us again today. My name is Dakbo Arua Joy. But Federal High Court on Friday ordered the former Minister of Petroleum, Desiani Alison Madueke, to forfeit a whopping sum of $153 million. That if you convert that to the present exchange rate, that will be a whopping sum of 74 billion naira to be forfeited temporarily until adjournment of the case or a review of the case in like 14 days time. That's what we are looking at today, and these are proceeds, apparently proceeds from the NNPC. How can someone, just an individual, take such? And that's what we are looking at today. And to help us do the discussion, I have Dr. Deji Awobutu, a financial policy analyst and chartered accountant. Thank you very much, Dr. Awobutu.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
And also I have a friend of the house, Ken Okolobo, as a former commissioner, Delta State, and also a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much, Ken.
It's always my pleasure.
For joining us. Doctor, I said that if you convert that by 480 Adara to a dollar, that would be 74 billion naira. Do you know, according to statistics, Ekiti State, as a state, had its budget for 2016 was 767 billion. So that means Alice Madueke's proceed is more than a state's budget. Do you want to take it forward?
Well, I'm going to establish a position here as regards occupants of public offices, individuals that were being appointed to be in charge of relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. Misappropriation of funds to their respective accounts, it's illegal, but we'll leave that to the courts to decide on that, and that's what has actually happened on Friday.
Yes.
Now, the 14 days period was actually a period given to the banks to revert to the court on the source of these funds, if actually they were misappropriated from the NNPC accounts to our own private account. All right, so for the banks that have been alleged, as we speak, because they have 2 weeks to clear the hair on this matter, I strongly believe that there are other individuals with huge sum, because I wonder why the banks have not come out before now to explain that so individual who happen to be a former minister had so much in the account before now. So that's alleging them on that position automatically should actually attract some form of sanction, in my opinion. So technically, having so much in an account that is almost equivalent to the budget of a whole state, it's not too right. And I would strongly want to make this as a form of a signal to other public office holders. Now, if you're looking at that in the accounts of First Bank, in the accounts of Sterling, in the accounts of Fidelity, now, what happens to other banks? Are we saying
is it Fidelity or Access? Because I know.
Okay, I think Access Bank, because the negotiation was with Fidelity.
23.4 billion naira found in Sterling Bank.
Good.
9.08 billion naira found in First Bank, and $5 million in Access Bank.
Good.
So that's why.
Putting all this together now, are we saying other banks have no other public officials' funds in the respective current accounts? If the answer is why can't they come public?
We'll go to the roles bank play in laundering money, but that will be afterwards. But let's get a better understanding of what is going on. I said Ekiti State is 60-something billion naira, right? And Kogi State is 75 billion naira, and that means Alice Madueke is like a billion higher than. Kogi State is a billion higher than Alice Madueke is allegedly. The proceeds allegedly belonging to her.
Well, the amount is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling in the sense that one, I think you got it a bit wrong here. The funds were not put into any accounts from what they have said. The funds were moved in cash, allegedly, and they were concealed by the MD of Fidelity Bank.
Yes.
He moved some of it, about $119 million of it to Sterling Bank.
Yes.
Kept some, moved to First Bank, and gave $5 million in cash, allegedly.
Yes.
Now, my problem here is, I'm not even looking at what the figure is, because the figure is too mind-boggling. My problem is we have a law in this country that says that if you steal, you go for 7 years, but the buyer of the stolen goods, will go for 14 years. That's basically discouraging those who buy stolen goods, because if there are no buyers for stolen goods, nobody would steal. So those funds that were moved in cash were not kept in an account, so to say. They were kept in sundry accounts. Like, for example, in the case of sterling, it was allegedly used for investments, sterling investments. Yes. And it was now converted into cash. And it was converted into cash at the official rate, which still gave it that 23 billion. So you can imagine what the managers could have made, because they could have done it in terms of round tripping. Yes. Because they could have converted it in parallel market rate, but credited it in official rate. So there's already a whooping amount between the exchange rate as at when they even did the conversion. Now, what am I saying here? What I'm saying here is that the NNPC has a budget, and we remember the former governor of Central Bank clearly said $20 billion was missing. And it was one of the sore points of the last administration. Nobody has been able to establish, which is the case here, how did she get this amount in cash? Because we're not talking about Naira, we're talking about United States dollars. Yes, dollars. Definitely that money must have been moved. It couldn't have entered this country without having to go through CBN because of the amount that we are talking of. And now these funds were moved in cash. And so it was from these funds that the money went around allegedly to all the states, both INEC, both the PDP coordinators, and so to say in terms of campaign front. It was also from these funds that $5 million found its way to the hands of the CEO of Access Bank. Now we have all the CEOs are still in place. Yes. None of them are being tried. Yes. And now we have gone for asset forfeiture. 14 days is given to anybody who says it is his or her money to come and lay claim within those 14 days. If nobody comes within those 14 days, then the amount is permanently forfeited to the federal government. Now, my own take here is, what have they done in terms of investigation to the source of where these funds are? Yes, the court can say that we are not an investigative agency, but how did this money come about? Was it part of the budget? Was it missing from the budget?
Okay, we'll take it from there. That'll be right after this short break. Don't go anywhere, please. Welcome back. I still have Dr. Deji Awobutu and Ken Okonobo as my guests today. And since you guys want to go there straight, let's look at the roles the banks play really. Because Ken was asking a very good question. How do we get these monies in cash, really? Some in dollars, some in Naira. And the roles that bank play in laundering these monies, let's talk about it. Because EFCC, let's say last year, arrested the First Bank Executive Director, a public sector, Dr. Dawood Lawal, for laundering $25 million. Though the bank has denied, okay, this is just a transaction between Dawuda and maybe Alice Madueke. It's not between First Bank. But the man is saying this is a professional, what's it called? Transaction that happened. How do we explain this?
Now, it's so simple because we have a law in this country, that's the Money Laundering Prohibition Act. All right, and that act actually also imposes on financial institutions to actually know their customer. That is number one. In addition to knowing their customer, they should consider the sources of the customer's funds or wealth. In addition to that, for every transaction that you believe as suspicious, you are expected to raise a suspicious transactions report with the relevant agency, which is the NFIU. That's an arm under the EFCC. Now, if you have a transactions like this, the question we should ask ordinarily to know if it's actually a professional transaction is, in the past, do we have history of similar transactions being made? So if the answer is no, then this becomes so suspicious that a bank has a mandate and a responsibility to report such transactions. Now, if these transactions have been reported in terms of the volume involved and the magnitude of the amount, such report would have been transferred straight to the NFIU. Now, that would have to some extent exonerated the
NFIU
bank.
is
Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit.
Unit.
They have that mandate to receive all reports from relevant financial institutions, be it banks, be it stockbroking firms. And I think that is what the capital markets regulators are actually doing. If you deal on the major transactions on a particular day, whether that transaction is normal or not, the volume of the transaction will automatically raise a suspicious from the stock exchange portal, and they will write to you as a stockbroker to explain or to give details of that transaction. Who is the buyer? Who is the seller? What volume are you trading? So, to that extent, I doubt if the central bank is actually doing something similar, because if an individual is doing a business with a former minister, for instance, that on its own makes her a politically exposed individual. So, on the face of it, doing transaction with politically exposed persons, you are expected to raise all relevant reports so long as there is a transactions involving both parties. So, to that extent, most financial institutions will certainly be culpable if we had to look at this this act technically.
That's what you think of?
Well, the truth about it is that he's taking it in terms of details. The Nigerian Financial Institution Unit, even the federal, the FROCN, that regulates the banks in terms of their financial transactions, which is supposed to be away from central bank. It has made it very clear that if you have a transaction of 10 million naira and above, you must report such transactions, not only to the efcc, but also to them. Because that's why we have introduced a cashless policy where you have to pay cash or have to make transfer for certain amounts of money, and you're made to pay. If you, even from your own account, if you have to exceed that limit, you are charged, so that you can be discouraged from actually dealing in terms of cash. When we all know that this policy is in place, it becomes very worrisome, because if you don't have such bank executives, this kind of mind-boggling amount will not find its way into the system, because it was concealed. It was very clear that the money was, because it was being concealed, it was taken in cash, because we haven't heard that any of these accounts are in the name of Diziani Alisi Madweke. There is no account in any of those banks, either Fidelity, either First Bank, either Sterling, that has the name of Diziani Alisi Madweke. They were all concealed. But it's just because the main person who collected the money, so to say, Nnamdi Okonkwo of Fidelity Bank, allegedly has admitted that those funds came from Alison Madweke. So it shows that, you know, the roles that they have played becomes even more culpable than the source of the funds. And why I find it so worrisome is that this was the same woman that fought. I'm not trying to indict her here, but I remember when we were fighting the issue of subsidy, the subsidy fraud.
Yes.
Do you understand? There was so much fight, and she put so much effort in fighting and making it clear that subsidy was all about a fraud. Most people were claiming funds that for petroleum products that never got into the country. And so I find it strange that this amount of money could have been held in cash. Is it from signature bonus? Signature bonus, I know, is paid in terms of instruments, letters of credit. Can it be from direct sales of crude oil, or can it be from bunkering? I mean, I don't understand, because for such an amount to leave the system, such a huge amount to leave the system in cash, and the coordinator of the economy as a then, Okonjo-Iweala, does not know about it.
And she was saying we need to tighten our belts.
That means,
around that time.
You know, that's why I'm a bit worried here. That means, can it be that these funds were not part of the budget? Because that's what it's trying to portray.
Yes.
So where did these funds come from?
And let's talk about the institution itself. Okay. You know, the towers of NNPC. Then they said towers. Then the NNPC was a tower of corruption. You heard a whole lot, because Sanusi himself, His Royal Majesty, I was saying that NNPC itself, the all proceeds that were taken for NNPC was $20 billion then. And you remember the Auditor General was saying $16 billion were not remitted. So if you put all this together, that means they were not crying wolf at that time.
At all. Now, looking at the institution, which is the NNPC, I strongly believe a whole lot of collusion is actually going on there. That's my personal opinion. And looking at the way funds have been flying from one account to another, you can't do that all alone. Yes. There will be individuals, there will be directors that would certainly know about this, that the names have not even been mentioned as we speak.
Yes. Some were even mentioned.
So to that extent, I think we're expected to go down to the relevant departments, how where what this money, how come the money got to NNPC in the first place in terms of the process. Now, from NNPC, out of NNPC, who are those that were actually involved in that process? We should bring all of them to book, all right? Because looking at it now, if we don't deal with all those issues, certainly it's going, the rot will still continue. All right. So, and apart from those in NNPC, we also have other friends of the Ziani that are actually out, because I know a couple of them. When you mention the Ziani, you mention the likes of Aluko, you mention the likes of Mokore and the rest of them. So all these are, they're individual. I believe they're still in this country. All right, they should be called upon to answer to most of these allegations, because technically we still refer to them as allegations until the court finds them, culpable of all those offenses. So a whole lot still has to be done in terms of empowering that institution. If we need to take a whole lot of people out of the system and getting new bloods that have integrity, that have strong ethical standards, that I think that will take this country to the next level.
Ken, that means if you can have $153 million coming out from an institution like NNPC, that means that institution sure stinks. They're talking about corruption as at that time.
But that's why I get worried when you say there was a PwC. PwC is a very credible auditing firm. And so if you say they now did a forensic examination of the books, and they were even asking for a foreign auditing firm to come and do a forensic examination of the books of NNPC, it leaves a lot to be desired, the kind of forensic examination that has been done. Because over a long period of time, we have always had this notion of, even way back from 1979, when they alleged that over $2 billion was missing. 2.8 then. 2.8, yes, that fella sang about. It's been one allegation or the other, right, everything centering on NNPC. Because if we have a mono economy that we have now in Nigeria, where our funds only come from oil, and NNPC happens to be the warehouse in terms of the sale, the proceeds. In fact, NNPC entails everything that has to do with this mono economy. Then we must make sure that we have to. They say where your treasure is, that's where your heart belongs. That's what they say. So we must make sure that NNPC must be seen to be above board. So why haven't we put a system in check that can actually allow for a forensic audit of all the transactions that go on in NNPC? We all know that NNPC has its different subsidiaries, NAPIMS, PPMC, DPRO, and all the others. How haven't we been able to put MPDC, all of them, put a system in check, so it becomes impossible for this mind-boggling amounts of funds that we hear every now and then not to find its way out of the NNPC? We're even talking about this $153 million. Have you forgotten what the Senate is dealing with? The Senate is dealing with over $5 billion that Dino Melaye talked about. I was discussing with Dino Melaye the other day, and I was shocked at the kind of things he was telling me. Do you understand? Which, of course, I wouldn't say on air here. But the kind of things I was hearing from him, I was actually very surprised. And it makes one very worried, because if $153 million is a drop in the ocean compared to $5 billion that we are talking of, that is unaccounted for. So, if this case wasn't, this case was stumbled upon.
Yes.
It was while they were investigating an INEC staff, just one INEC staff. Yes. That was when this whole thing.
Remember 100 INEC staff, then I think it was $20 million.
Some were giving 70 million, some were giving 20 million, some were giving 185 million.
So they were just sharing it amongst themselves. Of the national cake of this country.
And even when you are talking about forfeiture now, don't forget that 23.4 billion, which the efcc has the draft, is not existing.
It's not.
That money has been spent. Yes, it's the one with Access and the one with First Bank that is still unspent. Wow. So that one is gone already. I mean, even if you are going to recover that one, how much of it are you going to recover?
Wonderful. At this juncture, we need to go on yet another break. And when we'll come back, the discussion continues. Please stay with us. Okay, welcome back. The topic today, we're still looking at the fact that the Federal High Court in Lagos has asked the former Minister of Petroleum, Alice Madueke, to forfeit $153 million temporarily. Maybe in like 14 days' time. Afterwards, if the case proves otherwise, she might have to forfeit that permanently. So that's what we're looking at today. I have this gentleman here. And let's look at the EFCC itself now. Do you think the EFCC can keep up this tempo? Because apparently they said, okay, the EFCC is trying, but they should do more. What do you think?
Well, I agree with that position, and looking at the tempo the FCC is actually taking, if we compare this with the last administration, I think we're going to give them a pass, because in the last administration, I doubt if they actually did a lot compared to the administration before the last, and that's the Obasanjo's administration. So I think they're getting back their strength, they're getting back their powers back now, but they still have to do more. And what the federal government needs to do, in person of the man at the top, that President Muhammadu Buhari, he needs to give them more, he needs to allow them to do what they feel is right in terms of their scope of work, the objective, and the reason why they were set up. Now, Nigeria as a country, what we need to do generally is to empower our institutions. If we have a strong institution, then institutions that are beyond individuals, then we're going to get a whole lot of value as far as this country is concerned. We saw what happened with the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, with the non-for-profit organization. So that alone has actually spoken that irrespective of wherever you are, the institutions are there to put you in check.
Can I interrupt you, Doctor?
Please go ahead.
I need to take our first caller. Blessing. She's calling from Akwebe. Good morning, Blessing.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Dapon.
Good morning, Blessing.
Please, let me just make something. 3 points. Number one, if we want a change in this country, to start from me, you, all of you in that studio, that is number one. Number two, sir, I don't know what is our problem. Is this woman, is it that when they are talking to her, fire is coming out of her head, that somebody cannot drag her out from the hole that she's hiding? When she was ruling us, being the minister, cancer did not kill her then. So now, if we want to catch her, cancer should not be the problem. They should call her, come and take the money. If Bori now has come back, if he wants to run for any office or anything, they should pack them and take them to the appreciation center and check them if they are okay. If they are not okay, there should be a law that will sanction everybody that has stolen in this country. Please, let's not use Mr. Somebody, call their name. It is for us to shut this nation down and go and drag all of them out and bring this out. Mr. Yori, people are suffering. Business is not doing well. Everything is not doing well. Everything is standstill. And some idiots are here from here. Stealing our money.
Blessing, thank you so much. I know you're angry, but you choose your words, okay? Thank you so much, Blessing. All right, then. What do you think? Because
Blessing actually, she said quite a lot, but it's the anger against corrupt officials. That's the point. And as individuals, if you look at how people are suffering out there, Nigerians are really suffering. And the whole blame is right on Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari. He's not doing well, he's not this, he's not that. That is the cry out there. But the point still remains that, in my opinion, he's trying, he's doing his best. But a whole lot of rot has gone into the system. Now, if you're looking at 153 billion, from my own point of view,
that would do something.
Yeah, it will generally, but
million
dollars
and 74 billion naira.
Yes. Now, in the past of Diziani, I can tell you that can just be food from, that fall from the table, not the main meat.
So there's still a whole lot
there.
So
I strongly believe there are a lot of funds. So if you're looking at this little money here and there,
we lose sight.
She can even decide, okay, how much are we talking about? 150 but just allow them to be fighting with that. Meanwhile, the main funds are still there.
Comrade Akpan, good morning. You're calling from Magodo.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
And the two gentle Nigerian people, good morning to you.
Morning.
Yes, it is very clear that the government are actually voted into power is doing what I voted the person for. Now, it amazes me if a single minister of that magnitude could allegedly be in possession of such hard currency, not even naira, I'm wondering what has become of such minister. Now we are crying of the economy. Now, if this woman will come up to tell us that, look, I'm a bona fide citizen of Niger Delta, I took this money to develop Niger Delta, and everybody will look at it, the physical evidence on the ground, that would be better. But we are crying on the head of Muhammadu Buhari. It's not fixing the economy. Is this saliva that people use in other countries to fix the economy? Is it not money for you to go and hold a public office like that and the exploration of such money? I'm wondering how many youths in our community are benefiting from that money. I wonder how many roads and how many houses, how many things she actually fixed in a particular village.
Okay.
But if not, it is wickedness.
All right,
and I want the government to stop at nothing by collecting that money back from every sundry.
All right,
whether you are from Niger Delta or any part of the country, should go against them by all means and bring them to justice.
Thank you so much, Comrade Akwan. And let me put the same question to you, the one that gave a doctor the other time. Do you think, the FCC should do more?
Yeah, I think they're not, like the Financial Reporting Council, I don't think they're cooperating, and EFCC is cooperating with some of these organs of government very well. Exchange of information is very key. No doubt the EFCC under Magu has done quite well. Nobody would, in his right senses, would say that he hasn't done quite well. Though some of us have questioned the modus operandi he has used, but in all, where you have received a B in any examination, I think is a pass mark. And if you are to ask me, I'll give Magu a B. But my take here is this notion of media trial. It has taken a dimension that it has become worrisome, because even when people return funds, that's not enough. It's as if when you return funds, you are not put on trial. There is so much hola balo about the funds you have stolen. By the time you have gone into the EFCC custody, you've spent a couple of days.
And that's all.
And that's all. That's what we have seen. I can trace it. The man from Kaduna, Jafari, said that is close to the president. Once we heard he returned money, he was not put on trial.
No, we didn't hear anything
about it again. And so there must be something that should act as a deterrent. There must be a deterrent to a crime that has been committed. Okay. It's not for you, returning money is not restitution for the crime that has been committed. The person should at least go on trial, even if you don't sentence the person and you go on the plea bargain. But it remains on paper that this person is an ex-convict. Okay. And therefore, even if the person is to go for political office, it becomes impossible.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But I have Alhaji Hassan. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Dapo Aruajui.
Good morning, Alhaji.
Good morning, Dr. Deji Awobotu and Mr. Felix Okolobo.
Thank you very much.
You see, this issue is a matter of corruption at the highest level. And you can see the connect of the banks, the culpability of our financial institutions in perpetrating financial crimes in Nigeria. But in any crime committed, it has a relativity with time, and it has a relativity with the environment and people involved. Let me remind Mr. Deji Awobotu about one thing. I like you for one thing. You are very good in following the ethics and what the ethics should be. But this can only apply in a normal society. Our society as a then was abnormal, whereby the people in government and people in the banks, because of the rush and misfortune at that particular point in time, are working hand in hand. And even the FCC looked the other way around, because they knew it was the people that put them there that are perpetrating this kind of financial crimes. This woman has not seen a lot of money. Not only that amount, that's why it's a passing sum compared to the monumental fraud that took place under our former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And a lot of people look at it, and because the corruption is something that whistles down from the top to the bottom, it now became a free-for-all look all over.
Okay.
I
Elijah-
made an observation.
All right, then. Alaji, you have to round up now, and you need to go. Are you there? Oh, thank you so much, Elijah, because we need to leave space for others to call you. You've made so much point there.
Well, I think maybe where Alaji was actually coming from was he was trying to emphasize on the issue of the fact that the last administration had cases of corruption. But we must also not forget that no matter how much we look at the present EFCC, Lamode had a lot of people that were being tried on the subsidy fraud issue too.
But nobody was even...
But nobody has been convicted. Because the
That's
cases have been on. You see, that's another case here. That's another place we must also look at. The issue of speedy trial, having special courts. Because Lamode had a lot of cases on subsidy fraud trial. But what has become of those cases?
All right. George, good morning.
Hello, Doctor.
Yeah, George,
Good morning.
from Ikeja. Morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Doctor, I just have one question for Ken.
Okay.
In the light of all the revelations that have come out about corruption under the government of Goodluck Jonathan, I want to ask Ken, does he think it is time to invite Mr. Jonathan to come and answer some questions? That's just my question this morning. Thank you.
What do you think?
Well, I know apparently he knows I worked very closely with the campaigns of Goodluck Jonathan. I wouldn't deny the fact that I was a member of his presidential campaign council, and I was also a serving commissioner under a PDP government. Yes, and I will say no. Yes, in the sense that it is very important that Goodluck Jonathan speaks. But if he speaks at this time, there is a lot of cases that are in courts that the words he's going to say would influence those cases. So if they're going to invite him as a suspect, nobody's above the law. I would not dispute that. But if you're inviting him just for him to shed light, there's a difference between making statements. We all know when you go to the police, you make statement under caution. Do you understand where I'm coming from? There's a difference between inviting somebody to say clarify. So if you are making statement under caution, then you're inviting him as a suspect.
So how about if he's invited to stand trial?
Oh, of course, why shouldn't he be invited if he's found to be culpable? But Magu has said they have still not found anything that would warrant them inviting
Well, you remember
him.
some, is it the Italian prosecutors or investigators were saying that they have a little bit, they've seen a little bit of skeleton in Jonathan's even wardrobe. Did you hear about that?
I've heard that, but where I find a bit worrisome is the issue of Dasuki. That is the only place I find a bit worrisome. If Dasuki and every other person keeps alleging the fact that they took instructions from Jonathan, I really don't understand why he has not been invited to clarify.
Okay, can I
that.
quickly ask you, because we need to go on a short break soon. Do you think Jonathan should even brought forward?
Well, strongly, I think it should be brought forward to answer some of those questions, because whoever you call upon now will certainly hide under the superpower that, well, I got an instruction from. So certainly it's going to be a principal-agent relationship.
Yes.
So if you cannot hold absolutely the agent, certainly you're going to move straight to the principal. Why did you give this instruction? Can you give answers to some of these issues? Now, if they say they needed $2 billion for securities and all that, and you give approval, what is the process that you put in place to check if truly the money you approved was actually spent on the purpose it was set for? So, in my opinion, I think it should be called for trial.
All right, then. I need to go on a short break. When we'll come back, a lot to be discussed. Don't go anywhere. So welcome back. And on the line, I have Daniel from Okoko. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, all of you there.
Yeah, wonderful. Morning.
I'm sorry to take your time. It's a big issue. That's your name.
Yeah, big one indeed.
I'm coming from a different angle.
Okay.
Each and every time, I see your guests come on, all very well dressed, beautifully dressed, custom-made suits. That's one of our problems here in this country. If we truly want Buhari to succeed,
Why is it a problem for people to dress well?
Thank you very much. Because
Okay.
you have refused to identify with the masses.
Oh, is it?
That's true. You have refused to identify with the suffering masses.
Daniel, how
Hold
would
on.
they identify?
Hold on.
Okay.
People that are hungry. People that cannot put one square meal on their table on a daily basis.
Okay.
Look, what I really want from these people, let them come out. No one is above the law. Even the president should not be above the law, except if he's operating under some certain kind of immunity. Look, the Nigerian people are the owners of this country, not even the president.
Yes.
Let them come out if they truly want the president to succeed in his corruption fight. Let them come out, lead a protest, and prepare to come behind them.
Okay.
Let them come out and lead a protest so that we know who and who is even the culprit, even in this present administration. That's what I want to say.
Okay,
All
thank you,
this
sir.
long Turange, all this long grammar, all this long Oyibo, all these long things will not take us anywhere.
And the customized suit
Just
also.
my contribution.
All right, then, Daniel. So you've heard, guys, you should tone down next time when you come on my show.
No, let me just quickly
So,
respond to the
short
gist of
details.
that. But you should
Identify
understand,
with the masses.
Mr. Dana, you should understand that before being public analysts or financial analysts, we have businesses that we run. We
Yes.
meet with clients, we meet with
Yes.
organizations.
So you need to look good.
We need to look good to, portray the kind of business.
Maybe he has a problem that we're looking too good that we're talking about corruption. But what he should also understand is, while we agree that the system is corrupt, some of us that are speaking, you should also know that we are doing also that at a very grave risk. For example, for the kind, everybody knows I'm a member of the People's Democratic Party. And for me to speak in the light I'm speaking this morning, not everybody in my party is going to be happy with me. That was why that question was put to me. I mean, having gotten to the position I've gotten to in my party, one should expect that in cases like this, I should be very biased.
Yes.
But I'm trying to be unbiased so that they can know that we are in a new system. That wouldn't change the fact that I'll critique Buhari tomorrow in most of the policies that I don't agree with him, especially in the area of economy. It won't stop me from critiquing Buhari. But when you see what is being done and is worrisome, as a Nigerian, if you don't speak to, for some of us, if you go back to your bed, you become very worried, especially when you become a voice that people listen to. So let him also see it from that perspective, that speaking is also a lot of risk in this area, more than our dressing. You should look at the message and not our clothes.
Uzo, good morning. You're calling from AJ City. Ajegule.
Good morning, Mr. Bako.
Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Ken and the other colleagues here.
Morning.
Please, Uncle Ken, what is really wrong with our country in Nigeria?
What?
What is really wrong with our country in Nigeria?
Okay.
Why are people like this? One woman, one person. Recently, I don't know how true is that story. Said she has some estates which Sarah reporters have finally uncovered, which are trying to investigate that she has and all that. But I can't. Can you help us advise our fellow Niger Deltans that are there on why they should not be like this? Thank you very much and have a lovely day ahead.
Thank you so much. Again, do you want to add it to what you started?
Yes, she's from the Niger Delta, and I'm from the Niger Delta. And we know we have always fought for resource control. One of the things that the Northerners have used against us is the resources that we have been given, we haven't used them properly. But they should leave us to fight ourselves internally and not dictate to us how the ones that we have been given we should use. Where he's coming from is the fact that she's a Jaw and she was the Minister of Petroleum. She has not been found guilty, quite all right, but we still see it as an allegation, but a worrisome allegation, like he sounded quite worried. And being one from the Niger Delta, this is a more reason why we should fight it now, so that any of our children, like our son today is the Minister of Petroleum.
Yes.
He's doing quite well. If we don't put the heat on Desiani now, our son that is a minister today might also derail.
Yes.
So let him also know that he will also face the heat if he decides to
And we should leave tribe, religion out of this. If you are corrupt, you are corrupt. If you're found wanting, you found wanting. Because someone was taking it to the fact that Ibori must still come to Nigeria and be a senator soon. That's
no, Ibori cannot contest elections in the next 10 years.
10 years.
Our law is very clear.
But
After 10 years, he can.
He was found guilty.
No, it doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter. Once you have been convicted, once we have facts that you have been convicted, you can't contest any election in 10 years.
Usman, good morning from Abuja. Usman.
Yes.
Morning.
Good morning.
Your contribution, please.
My contribution.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
good morning, sir.
Okay, what's up?
Mr. Dagbo, good morning. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you very much for calling.
I really want to contribute to the program. This issue of the corruption, it appears Buhari is the only person who is interested in handling corruption. I don't even know what the ministers and the governors in this regime are doing to help Buhari in fighting the corruption.
Okay.
So if they are not interested in fighting the corruption, why don't they just let them go home and rest and allow Buhari to look for other people that are going to help him? Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, Osman. Well stated. It's so simple. Okay, gentlemen, before we round up, apparently between May, when Buhari took over power, and May last year, we heard that $9.1 billion have been recovered from looters. That's about £6 billion. Do you think these monies, because I heard some of them are going to be put into the budget, do you think they're going to be utilized well? And can we take it from there?
Okay, well, I believe we have a presidential advisory committee on against corruption. And they've been doing a lot of sensitization, they've been doing a lot of workshops and seminars on the issue of asset recovery, of which we also have the funds that have been recovered. Yes. In my opinion, I don't think that money should go straight into the budget. Yes. It's a separate institution or entity should be set up. Now, it's not just cash that you're recovering, you're also recovering buildings, you're also recovering cars. Now, all these things that you're recovering, if you don't put processes in place for the management of all these assets, before you know it, but by the time judgment is given, all those assets become scrap.
Also. Okay.
You know?
I have a last caller from Abuja. Desmond. Good morning, Desmond. We're waiting for you.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Please, I want to contribute on the issue of going on with TVC. I'm very, very interested on the program.
Okay. All right, Desmond.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Is that all?
Yeah, I'm very happy for the program going on TVC.
Okay.
And I want to contribute as a Nigerian too.
Okay.
So what is going on in Nigeria is that our politicians, they are busy working on themselves, not for Nigerians. So we voted for them, we casted our vote for them, and we expect them to do good things to Nigerians. But when we vote for them, you see poor people being on the queue, standing from morning to night to vote them in, leaving them alone. Their family vote cannot bring them in as a president or as a governor or as a minister.
All right, and Desmond, thank you so much. That's all time can take from you. And as you round up, what do you think? The funds recovered and the ones to be recovered, what should they be used for?
We have a Treasury single account now. So with the TSA, they should just pay it into the TSA. And once they pay it into the TSA, it will be captured as income and it will be distributed in terms of budgetary. We all know what happens when it is captured. Once it's captured, it will be seen as income and it will be used for the budgetary provisions.
And transparency, accountability.
That is it. Because with the TSA, it makes it very clear.
Wonderful. Yes. Ken Okolobo, thank you so much. Former Commissioner, Delta State and Public Affairs Analyst.
It's always my pleasure.
Thank you. And Dr. DG Awobotu, a financial and policy analyst and chartered accountant. Thank you so much, Doctor. And that's all we can take on the show today. Thank you very much for calling in. And if you feel to call in, try again maybe tomorrow. I'll see you around tomorrow. My name is Dakbo Aruwajoye. Bye for now. God bless Nigeria.